let's get right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a massive, ancient, and formally sealed scriptural dossier known as the Bhavishya Malika. And we aren't just looking at vague, generic predictions here. We're examining a highly specific, 600-year-old scriptural record that claims to map out a coming global transition in extreme detail. Right at the very center of this record is a specific ledger, a text known as the Padma Kalpa Tika. So, let's take a look at what these scriptures actually say.
Now, I really want to hook your attention immediately with this staggering scriptural claim. Think about these numbers for a second. Out of our current global population of roughly 8 billion people, the Bhavishya Malika explicitly records that a remnant of only 640 million will survive the impending global transition. That's 640 crore, just 8% of humanity. The text describes a completely devastating winnowing process, but it's absolutely crucial to understand that it points to a continuation of the species, not a complete extinction.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, Ledger of the 64 Crore.
The text actually features this direct, verbatim scriptural citation composed by the great Saint Achyutananda Das over 600 years ago. Arda Aru Arde Maribe. This translates to, half of half will die. You see, the Bhavishya Malika doesn't describe a Maha Pralaya, which would be a total annihilation of the world. Instead, it meticulously details what's known as a Khanda Pralaya, a partial destruction, and the text never softens this blow. It firmly declares that global catastrophes will occur, but it remains entirely focused on the remnant that remains.
To really wrap our heads around the scale of these claims, we have to look at the source. According to the Bhavishya Malika, this is a massive corpus of texts penned by the Panchasakha, 5 great saints of Odisha. They reportedly composed a staggering 500,000 texts writing under the direct instruction of Lord Jagannath. Out of this vast library, 318 texts specifically form the Bhavishya Malika, the garland of future prophecies.
Moving on to Section 2, the Namlikhit Granth Dossier.
So if only 8% of the population survives to see the new age, how is that decided, and where is the record kept? Well, according to the Bhavishya Malika, there's a specific classified dossier called the Namlikhit Granth. And this isn't some metaphorical list. The scripture states this is a secret scriptural ledger, almost like a highly classified cosmic database that literally records the exact names, past births, and destinies of the specific devotees who will survive and form the new civilization. The text notes that this dossier is kept strictly sealed and is only to be brought out at the very end of the Kali Yuga, when the divine assembly known as the Pseudo-Rama Sabha officially convenes.
Section 3. Activating the Reborn Companions.
Now, what's really interesting here is that the Malika states the transition is overseen by the eternal Panchasakha. According to the text, these 5 divine companions are systematically reborn at the close of every single age. They return in new mortal bodies, under new names, right alongside the divine incarnation, to restore Dharma, which is the cosmic and ethical order of the universe. They're essentially the field agents of this epochal shift. But they don't work alone. The Malika specifically records that Lord Dasharathi, the Kalki avatar, summons the Ashtadevis, the 8 divine mothers. They are given independent spiritual authority and a very, very specific mission, to guard the 64 crore devotees. During the chaos and immense destruction of the transition, their sole responsibility is to ensure that these specific individuals are never confused, never led astray, and are safely guided through the devastation and right into the new era. Let's look at Section 4, Strict Criteria for Survival.
So, the big question, how does one actually make it onto this ledger? The Bhavishya Malika lays out a highly specific scriptural blueprint. And the absolute key takeaway here is that the criteria are strictly behavioral and spiritual. It has literally nothing to do with your wealth, your nationality, or how deep your underground bunker might be. According to the Malika, survival requires renouncing all meat, eggs, and intoxicants. It mandates reading 1 chapter of the Trisandhya Srimad Bhagavad Mahapuran daily, continuously chanting the divine name Madhav, and fully surrendering to Sanatan Dharma.
And beyond just rituals, the Malika explicitly lists the 5 traits that will define the humans of the new age: Satya, Shanti, Daya, Kshama, and Maitri, truth, peace, compassion, forgiveness, and friendship. The scripture states that adopting these traits right now is the mandatory test for entry into the new world. It's described as a world where even enemies will be forgiven. If an individual cannot align their character with these principles today, the text indicates there's simply no way they can cross the threshold into tomorrow.
Section 5. The 2032 Horizon.
Before the new age can officially begin, The Malika records a genuinely chilling cosmic event, the 7 days of darkness. The scripture prophesies that the sun and moon will completely vanish for 7 days. People will allegedly lose their minds in the darkness. But the text frames this not as the end, but as the ultimate doorway. It acts as the final purification threshold between the old world and the new.
And this brilliantly illustrates how the Bhavishya Malika maps out the exact sequence. We are currently in what the text calls the initiation phase of the Dharma Sanstapana, but it states that from 2025 to 2032, the world will experience extreme purification, massive earthquakes, 64 specific types of diseases, asteroid impacts, all culminating in those 7 days of darkness. And then, the definitive anchor point. By the year 2032, the transition completes, and the Satya Yuga, the golden age of truth, finally dawns.
When the dust settles post-2032, the geopolitical map of the world is completely rewritten. According to the Malika, a new global constitution will be established under Sanatan Dharma. The new center of global governance won't be Washington, London, or Beijing. It will be Jajpur or Disha. From this sacred region, over 100,000 initiated devotees will govern the earth, establishing a unified, peaceful world utterly devoid of borders and conflict.
Section 6. Preserving the Divine Voice.
Now, you might be wondering, how do we even have access to this vast 600-year-old dossier written in highly coded Odia? For that, we have to look at the modern preservation of this text, which is strictly attributed to Pandit Dr. Sri Kashinath Mishra. It's absolutely vital to clarify that he's not the author of these prophecies, rather, he is the preeminent scholar of the Jajpur Mukhya Pandit lineage, who has spent decades researching, decoding, and unsealing this knowledge. He's the vital conduit ensuring the authentic Bhavishya Malika source material is accurately transmitted to a global audience today.
Furthermore, under his scholarly guidance, the Biswas Sanatan Dharma Seva Trust, also known as the Sudharma Maha Sangh, actively researches and propagates these authentic scriptures. They're currently distributing this translation and guidance to 156 countries globally, entirely free of cost. Their goal is just to ensure that anyone seeking to understand the parameters of the transition has access to the roadmap.
Which brings us to the final and really most crucial point of this text. The Bhavishya Malika claims that devotees from past ages will instinctively recognize this truth. They'll feel an inner scent or calling when the time has finally come. So, looking at the state of our world today through the lens of this ancient roadmap, ask yourself, do you feel that inner calling? Are your daily actions truly aligning with the ledger of the 64 Crore?